Hello, cyberspace. It is I, Terracin, your favorite cyber bitch here. And tonight's title is Let's Get Down to Business and Defeat the Alt. Because on both sides, they're being fucking insane. Although there is some good news, both sides of the fence are up for trying to get a bill passed that will take marijuana off of the criminal drug list.
Hey.
Oh, look, it's Chunky Monkey.
And I was about to watch some Shield Hero. Oh, well.
And we have the next 6 minutes.
Good evening.
And we also have the mechanic.
What's up?
Hopefully later we'll have a pudding with us, but apparently he has company tonight. Personally, I told him, just shove them all out in the snow, but he won't do that. That's after you make them take off all their clothes and make them stand out in the fucking snow. And we might have a Scooby later, but I think he's doing what El Jefe wants, which is, his wife Peaches. So how is everybody tonight?
Oh, so it's like I was explaining earlier, my throat's a little sore because I was doing bad guy voice today.
Well, you got to stop doing bad guy voice. Start doing evil grape voice.
Evil demented grape.
My act will evolve, of course, and I'll certainly take on new aspects and certainly try out new things. But this is I'm still on the early version of the villain voice. And,
you're still on version 1.0.
Yeah. So I'll find a more comfortable one to use because it's only well, it's supposed to be a half-hour show, but it sometimes goes into extra innings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to get. Thankfully, we only do about maybe 1 or 2 of these streams a month, so I can rest for a good amount of time. But it also, I don't have time to actually train it, so it's sort of like I'm caught in a weird sort of limbo. Anyhow, if anybody's interested in seeing me use my bad guy voice, you can check out. And I know this is early in the show, but you can check out my my live streams channel. I had to think about that for a second. My live streams channel. You might want to skip to the 6-minute mark because there's really nothing. It's we're still working out some of the kinks, and so there's really not much for the first 6 minutes. So you have to go to the 6-minute mark. Honestly, that wasn't planned. It just happened to be that it's the 6-minute mark that anything starts to happen. I can post that in the chat, can't I?
Sorry, I'm quiet. I'm trying to chill this out, and the roommate upstairs is being loud. So you guys are screaming and yelling at kids. You're gonna have to ignore it.
Okay. No. Okay.
Oh, you don't hear anything right now. I hear a bunch of kids upstairs running around because they won't listen.
Isn't it funny that the kids run differently than adults do?
It's because they have stubbier legs.
Yeah, and they really put force into every step that they take. I mean, a lot of force. I mean, they haven't yet trained themselves to be lighter of foot. So when kids are running, they're just slamming their legs and their feet into the ground. It's like
Honey, stop it now!
it's like
The hell? I'm being
It's
told
like-
I'm not allowed to share a post. What the fuck?
huh?
It's on Gab AI. I'm not allowed to share a post.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh?
You are not allowed to send this post.
A wild
Yeah.
Scooby has appeared.
Oh,
Gab is censoring you.
Hey, Scoob.
Apparently.
Gab is censoring Tara.
why is Gab censoring you?
I have no fucking clue.
What did you do?
I don't know. I don't have any messages, notifications, nothing.
Hmm.
Go.
But they're not letting you. They're not letting you post something.
Yeah. I'm just trying to post this YouTube.
Oh, Kelt's back. Where'd you go, man?
Hit the wrong button.
Ah.
Lay down for a minute.
All right. I don't know why Gab's giving you a hard time. Don't ever give me a hard time.
Come here, Anthony.
I post all sorts of shit on there too. I mean, like what I posted the other day didn't get taken down. Nothing you put up should get taken down. Like I put up a link for De Blasio that this fucking moron. He made Mondays meatless in the boroughs for the school kids. Meatless Mondays because less meat means less cows. So he's trying to get them. It's a double whammy, he said, to get the kids to eat healthier and to reduce their carbon footprint.
They're putting
So
arms and
I
stuff-
shared the link on Gab and I put as the caption, I hope that his wife explodes and that the shrapnel disfigures him horrifically.
Okay, so I figured out why Gab is censoring me. They won't let me just post the Twitter or the YouTube link. I have to put in something else.
Yeah, I don't know then. You must have pissed off the gods at Gab because, like I said, I put up shit wishing horrific things on people and I get thumbs up, so I don't know.
Hey, Scooby, I got a question about that meatless Mondays. What if the kids bring their own lunches, bring their own meat?
I know, right?
Hey, stop.
That's what I was thinking myself. I was you get sit down to the principal's office because you got a bologna sandwich.
I'd bring a hamburger.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Oh God, can you imagine if you show up with leftover meatloaf? They'll probably suspend you.
Boy, you got a license for that pizza?
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just that the school itself will not be providing it for the students. I think that's what it means.
Just
But-
bring a whole freaking meatloaf.
Yeah.
Dude, that would be a great fuck you to the governor.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
It's not even the governor. It's the crazy mayor.
Oh, the mayor. I get them confused. They're all
Yeah,
loonies.
no. Our governor. Oh, what our governor did. This mafioso moron. He goes and he decides he's going to take the Tappan Zee Bridge, and he's going to not only rename the bridge after his father for whatever
Oh,
reason.
no.
He decides instead of doing what would be the normal thing to do, what we do in the state, which is you just simply construct another bridge next to that bridge and add extra highway and off and on ramps, to accommodate the flow of traffic. No, Schmucko the Wonderputz decided he's just going to expand the Tappan Zee. So he blew this bridge out to give it extra lanes. And now to recoup the money, because he bankrupted my state doing this putz, one of the ways that he figured out he's going to recoup the money is he's charging us 5 cents for every bag we get at the supermarket. It's little things like that this idiot did. And
Bring your own bag.
that's what everyone's been doing. And you got to see,
Yeah.
every time I go in and they ask me, do you want a bag, sir? I flat out tell them, fuck no. I didn't tell that mafioso moron to name that bridge after his dead father. Let him pay for it.
Dude, I mean, if I were there,
Such a simple solution to not paying the 5 cents for the bag. Bring your own damn bag. Hell,
Yeah.
bring a
I'd write down on my
bag.
bag, fuck the mayor.
What?
I'd write down on my bag, fuck the mayor.
Yeah. But this one is fuck the governor, though, this time.
Ah, I keep getting them confused.
He blew up the bridge just to make extra lanes.
Yeah, he blew out the bridge to make extra lanes instead of just constructing another bridge next to it, which is the smart way to do it. Yeah, he added lanes to an already existing bridge. Have you ever seen when they do that?
Yeah.
It's the stupidest fucking waste of time because you literally have to tear apart the bridge and reinforce it, and you're basically literally rebuilding a bridge while it's already standing.
Exactly. You're just rebuilding a bridge while it's standing. It's cheaper to go build another one.
Yeah. But no, he decided to do it this way. I think it cost my state something like $196 billion.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, he bankrupted the state doing this putz. You got to realize something. This is that fucking moron on CNN, Chris Cuomo. This is his big brother. Yeah.
That explains a lot.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time.
Runs in the family.
Yeah. People say to me all the time, "Oh, wouldn't you want Cuomo to be president?" And my eye starts to twitch, and then like they get nervous. They're like, "Well, I mean, he'd be the first Sicilian president." And I turn purple when they say that. I said, "Yeah." I said, "How do you think a lot of black people with a brain in their fucking head feel about Obama being the first black president?" I said, "Do you really think I want to live with Cuomo being the first Sicilian president? The fuck out of here."
Oh my gosh.
Bankrupt us all.
I would think that would make the existing bridge structurally unsound if they fucked around with it that much.
It is. They that's the thing. They've already had to close it down once, and that's part of the reason it costs so much money. Is they've had to redo it, I think, twice because it wasn't structurally sound. I think that like the test vehicles nearly fell in the water or some shit. You gotta look it up. You look up the shit that went wrong with this thing. I mean, for my money, like a couple of weeks ago when Allie was visiting, and we went up over into Manhattan, and we were on the 59th Street. And I was telling her about, I think it was the George Washington one time when I was on the George Washington. I was going up, I think it was going up into the Bronx or something. Or if the George Washington, no, I think the George Washington leads into Jersey. What the fuck was I on? The Throgs Neck? We got so many goddamn bridges here. Anyway, I'm on one of these fucking redundant bridges going up into the Bronx for whatever reason. And you'll know which one it is. You can look it up. This, I think, happened back in maybe, I want to say 2000 or 2001 before the towers dropped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in traffic. I'm about two or three cars back, and there's a cab in front of me. And all of a sudden, the cab slams on his brakes, and he throws his hazards on. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I see the cars that are like, the car that was in front of him is going, and the lane is open. And I see all the cars that are sitting like that were next to him, they're veering over to the sides. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And traffic's completely stopped. I'm stuck. So, like they have to close the lane. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm up there for like an hour or so. And what had happened was the car that was in front of the cab, a Lincoln Town car, had pulled forward. And as soon as the car's tires just left where it was sitting, that panel of the bridge fell into the river.
Oh.
So,
no.
Piece of bridge about 12 long, I want to say, by about 8 wide, fell right the fuck out. It was like, you ever been on a glass bottom boat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like that. You could see the fucking river through the bridge. And I was thinking to myself, my God, if traffic was moving faster, either that cab could have fell through or I could have fell through.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they get into my car for the first time, they look around and they're like, Scoopy, why the fuck do you have safety hammers and mag lights mounted in your car? And I flat out told them, because when I was on the bridge, I nearly fell off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, have you guys ever, none of you guys have been to New York. Okay.
I have.
All right. So have you ever been on the 59th Street Bridge?
Yes. I hate that bridge.
You've been on the outer bridge crossing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you know also why I have those hammers in that fucking car. You hit a pothole. Yeah. For people listening and for those of you who have never been here, the outer bridge crossing, get this. This is a lane outside of the bridge with no guardrails and no side. And you know what happens if you go too far over?
Splash.
Yeah. That's the outer bridge crossing. I went over in a 96 or 95 Ford Taurus. I forget what year they changed the headlights. It was the last year before they made it look like a big grasshopper. I went over in one of them. That's as wide as of a car you can feel safe going over. And if you go over in a Cadillac, you're terrified. You're basically like scraping the wall because you know if you go too far over the other side, your wheels are going to hook and you're going to go into the river. It's the most unsafe bridge in America. It was the bridge that was in the episode of The Simpsons when Homer goes to work for the guy who turns out to be a supervillain called Scorpio, who gives him the Denver Broncos at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And he calls up and he's threatening Congress, and he shows him he took out a bridge in New York, and it's the 59th Street Bridge, and they even said maybe it fell of his own accord.
You know, I don't think anyone would be sorry if that thing just fell over of its own accord. Because that outer bridge crossing is scary as all hell.
Well, you know the thing about bridges? The thing about bridges is that there's a lot of things that go into the design of these bridges. Namely, what it will do predictably through airflow, weather patterns. There is a suspension bridge. I think it was like the 1920s or 1930s. It collapsed. It was called Galloping Gertie.
I remember watching that thing.
And it was actually modified. And the modifications are what made it so unstable.
Yeah, they undermined it.
Yeah, they closed off gaps that were purposely built into the bridge in order to help airflow go through it and around it. So when they closed it off, it essentially became a giant sail and became unsafe and eventually collapsed.
Yeah, but you remember seeing that video? What was that? The 30s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the one guy just says "fuck it" and leaves his car on the bridge.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah, no fucking way on earth you're gonna get me to drive across that thing.
No, that's it's. Modifying.
Sad thing is they're building bridges like that in China now.
Oh my gosh.
Have you guys seen that? The construction that's going on in China?
Yeah.
Because of the corruption. I was watching a video yesterday and it was horrifying. One of these buildings, it just gets the like a loose rock or a crack just out of nowhere starts on the top of the building and it unzips like somebody unzipping a sweatshirt, and you see the entire side of the building just peel off and fall onto the floor.
Well, it is Chinese built.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because of the way the commies build it over there, all the corruption and the way that they line their pockets. Yeah. You know, it's things like that. That's what I love. I walked around the mall all last weekend. I was red pilling the kids. I was showing them. I'm like, hey, you got a phone? Let me show you something.
I heard it's supposed to be a Chinese knockoff, not a Chinese knockdown.
Yeah. Oh, we got all of those when I was a kid. Because in Chinatown, you go in and you get all the knockoff shit. Like, that was actually like a game with us when we were kids. You know, we would go into the weekend with our older siblings. We go into the city with like $5-10 and see who could get the most crazy Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun game.
It really was. Oh God, we would get the knockoff Gundams back in the 80s before everyone knew what Gundam was. You get the knockoff Ninja Turtles. You get shit like the B Team, where Mr. T is white and everyone else is black. You get shit like that.
Yeah, I once saw this Chinese knockoff laser rifle, and it looked like it was based on the Spartan laser from Halo 3.
Yeah, like you got to realize something. Like a lot of the shit back in the 80s and 90s was made in China, so you could go to the flea markets and the swap meets and shit around here. And because the Chinese were making this stuff for us anyway, they didn't give a flying fuck that they were, infringing on trademarks. So you get like a really badass version of like whatever you were buying, normally that was made in China. Like for, let's say, Thundercats. Let's say you got the Thunder tank for the Thundercats, right? I'm showing my age, but you go into this mall that there used to be when I was a kid. It was called the Busy Bee Compartment Store. And they had all the Chinese knockoff shit. You can go in there and you could get, it was the same thing from Thundercats, but it was painted like bright copper, and it had all these flashing guns attached to it and shit, you know, like that would shoot sparks and whatever. I mean, the Chinese will rip shit off and just improve it. So,
yeah, there's this town just across the border in Mexico where you can get a lot of knockoff shit too.
Yeah.
You can get flea market Nintendos with. So remember, there was
anything from Soldier Boy.
Yeah, one of those 50 and ones cartridges where it had.
Instead of getting a Game Boy, you get a Game Nino.
Yeah. There was a steady supply of knockoff toys that anybody that would go to Mexico, they would come back and they would have just dozens of these knockoff toys. You always hang out with the kid whose family went down to cross the border. Of course, later I discovered the cheap liquor one could procure by going across the border.
When we were kids, we hated all of the knockoff shit because, you know, you could either go buy the name brand thing. Like, you got to realize I'm going back to 1980s money, so it doesn't sound like a lot. But bear in mind, today's 5 is, you know, yesteryear's single. Yeah. So, you know, like, you go and you could, let's say, for like $3, you could buy a G.I. Joe figure. Or you could go to the Busy Bee Mall and you could get like a 6-pack of those figures on a blister card for $1.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'd have my siblings, like my oldest. I actually didn't care that they were the knockoffs, really, to be honest, because my older brother was a bit of a sicko, and he would go and buy me a whole army of action figures. You know, he'd drop like $50. You know, okay, there's 6 for a pack. You know, he'd go in there all blown out, like, okay, give me $50 worth. So,
yeah.
I'd wake up with like 300 soldiers, like, Merry Christmas, I got you a battalion.
Yeah. So I remember I was in Mexico, and so I was curious to see what sort of comic books that they had. So I got an Hombre del Araña comic book. That's Spider-Man for all of those who don't speak Spanish.
That's why I was laughing.
Yeah, I got a Spanish Spider-Man. I also got a Spanish Superman versus Lobo.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't been to Mexico in such a long time.
Never been myself. I always wanted to go check it out. You know? I guess it's from all those gunslinger movies. You know?
Yeah. So the last time I was in Mexico, I was at this campground on the border, and one could actually walk across the Rio Grande River, and you're in Mexico.
That's crazy.
It is. So I was floating down the river. Hey, I feel like going to Mexico. So I just like walked about 3 or 4 feet, and there I was in Mexico. I would go back to the U.S. So I just swam about 10 feet, and back in the U.S. Hey, I want to go back to Mexico. So just swam another 10 feet back to the other shore, and there I was in Mexico.
So here's a meme. Why does everyone in the South carry pocket knives?
Why?
So we can get our allergy meds out of the dang bulletproof bubble packs. It's a daily struggle.
That's true. But then again, I also carry.
Now that's a knife.
That's a knife.
Yeah. You know the sad thing? You just reminded me. You remember I told you about my friend who was the wild man, got chased across 6 states, and was robbing the houses with the jet ski.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we got the neighborhood got hit by a hurricane, and all the houses were underwater. So the crazy bastard was going around with a jet ski mask and snorkels, and he was robbing the houses. I seen him. I think it was either yesterday or today at 7-Eleven. I think it was today. Yeah, it was today. I seen him at 7-Eleven this morning. And
so, was he a catfish burglar?
Good one. I actually felt bad talking to him today. He's asking me, he's like, so what's with the cane? Why are you walking with the cane? And I'm looking at him, and I felt bad. He's so fried. He didn't remember why I was walking with the cane. Didn't remember that I got injured. Didn't remember where I got injured, how I got injured. Didn't remember any of that. And the last time I had seen him, he was driving a Lexus SUV. Today I see him, and he's driving an old Ford a Chevy Aerostar minivan. It's beat to shit. And I'm like, you still doing the cameras with your family's company? He's like, nah, I'm working up over the recycling yard. And I'm like, oh, wow. And it's just sad, when you realize that that's what drugs do to you.
Yeah.
And it really is, because he didn't remember anything. And we were talking for a few minutes, and I'm like, wow, he doesn't remember anything. I mean, full disclosure, I wasn't going to kill him, but I wanted to shoot this guy at one point. And I'm talking to him, and I realized, my God, he doesn't even remember me and him having any problems. He doesn't remember that I wanted to kill him. I wanted to not kill him. I wanted to shoot him. I wanted to blow off one of his feet at least, He was a snowboarder. I figured I'd fuck up his thing. It was just we were mad at each other. That's how it was. And it was one of those things where I was like, wow. We hadn't talked in a few years. And it's amazing to me how his mind was so blank. Like, he barely remembered anything when we were talking. And he asked me, like, what am I doing now? And I'm like, going home to the wife. He's like, no, I mean, what are you doing right now? Are you working? I haven't been working because of the injury. Oh, yeah, how'd you get injured? And I just talked to him about it, about 2-3 minutes ago. And I'm like, he's just got such wet brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. You made me think about that when you mentioned the pills, Tara.
He's Dory.
Yeah, basically. That's what happens when you do so many drugs, that you get fucked up. I remember once I had to bail him out because he went and dove, unintentionally, he dove through the front window of the bakery and he fell asleep in a pile of bread. I had to go bail him out.
Okay, so Florida abortion bill would require a judge to rule if a teen's mature enough to terminate a pregnancy.
What?
Yeah, can you run that by me again?
Florida abortion bill would require a judge to rule if teens are mature enough to abort a pregnancy.
Let me think. No. Enough of this slippery slope. Just leave everything at 18 and stop fucking mucking around with shit.
Exactly.
If the Florida bill comes to law, teenagers who don't get permission from their parents or guardian to get an abortion will have to plead their case before a judge, presenting a problem that teenagers deemed too immature to have an abortion might be considered mature enough to have a child. Okay, if they're not mature enough to have an abortion, they're sure as fuck not mature enough to have a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you're kind of stuck with one of the two options.
Let them have the fucking abortion. House Bill 1335, which was introduced on March 5th, would amend Florida's statute from being a notification state to a notification and consent state with regard to abortion. On Tuesday, the Florida House Health Subcommittee approved the bill with 10 votes in favor and 4 votes opposed. God, I wish I was on that Ugh. The bill is now in the Judiciary Committee awaiting vote. Along with notifying a parent or legal guardian that a minor is going to have an abortion, physicians would have to obtain a notarized written consent before moving forward with the procedure. This is only going to disproportionately disenfranchise the young people who are in dangerous situations, Kim Scott, Director of Public Policy for Planned Parenthood of Southeast and North Florida. Now remember, I know you guys hate Planned Parenthood, but down here they actually do good. Terminating a pregnancy.
Considering what your population yields, I'll agree with you.
Terminating a pregnancy and carrying it to term are both life-altering decisions, and ones that Ingrid Duran, the state legislative director for National Right to Life, said must include parents. She likened abortion to getting a tattoo, being given medicine in school, or even getting married, all of which require parental consent, and told Newsweek that parents had a right to know what was going on with their minor daughters. And if there are any complications with the abortion, a teen who obtained her abortion secretly will be afraid to tell her parents if she's spiked a fever or is having any kind of complication. These laws serve to protect minors as well. Planned Parenthood found that minors overwhelmingly involve their parents in their decision to terminate a pregnancy. Those who don't seek advice from their parents are often from family environments that don't have healthy relationships, and in some cases, it's their parent who impregnated them. For those who can't or don't want to get consent from their guardian or parent, the bill enables them to petition a court for a waiver. To obtain the waiver, the court must find clear and convincing evidence that the girl is mature enough to make the decision to terminate her pregnancy. Ensuring that a teenager understands the implications of her choice may seem a logical step in the process, but Scott said deeming a teenager to be too immature may have to have an abortion, thereby forcibly causing her to carry the pregnancy to term, defies logic. If a judge doesn't deem you mature enough to have an abortion, that judge is deeming you mature enough to have a child, and that's daunting. In determining whether the waiver should be granted, the court will consider several factors outlined in the bill as age, overall intelligence, emotional development and stability, credibility and demeanor as a witness, ability to accept responsibility, ability to assess both the immediate and long-range consequences of the minor's choices, ability to understand and explain the medical risks of terminating her pregnancy, and to apply that understanding to her decision. Now, I will say that when Planned Parenthood at their facility, at least here in town, when someone is going in to figure out if they want to have an abortion or keep the child, Planned Parenthood does try and talk them into having the child, but giving it up for adoption. But if the teen or mother, whether she's a minor or not, insists on having the abortion, every time they come in for a visit, they go over the implications of having an abortion. And our Planned Parenthood office does not do abortions in their building, but they do know of doctors that perform abortions, and the patients still have to pay out of pocket for said abortion.
I would think that it would be a major conflict of interest if there were offices that actually performed it in the same.
In my opinion, it is. They need to have it completely separate, completely different doctors.
Yeah, because what I see it as an incentive for them to be more favorable with the idea of talking them, or not. I wouldn't say talking them into, but certainly failing to present a case and the same strength as they would. Here are the advantages of keeping the child versus aborting the child.
Yeah.
It just seems to me that there's a conflict of interest there. If there is a medical facility on site.
At ours, we have the Planned Parenthood office, and then like a block away is a clinic, the women's clinic, and they do abortions there. I have been to several of these different clinics, only pretty much to see if I was pregnant or not, because I couldn't afford a pregnancy test until they started selling them at Dollar Tree.
All right, I have to be the bastard here and shit on the picnic. All right, now check this out. When I was a kid in high school, the going rate, if I remember correctly, it was a tad expensive back in the day. I think it was either $350 or $375. You go into Planned Parenthood, you get the no lookup, no questions asked abortion. Basically what it was in New York State back in the day. You could just go in and get rid of it. I know a lot of guys, it was fucked up. They would just get the girl drunk afterwards. Like, they would get her drunk the next day after they fucked her just to make sure if she was pregnant that the kid would, you know, like, she'd flush it out. So they'd go and, like, buy vodka, and they'd be like, yeah, come on, baby, we're going to get drunk. You know, that was the basic thing, because it was cheaper. You know, you spend $20 on a bottle of Absolute, or you spend $300 and something for them to go up there with the fucking hook. So I don't mean to say it so brutally and to sound so callous. I'm just saying this is as matter-of-factly as people looked at it back then. Like, you got to understand, I know plenty of guys, and I'm not saying this trying to sound cool. It's fucked up and it's disgusting, but I know plenty of guys that would just say fuck it and haul off and punch her in the stomach to get rid of the goddamn thing. I mean, you know, and I know obviously people are going to scream that's murder, and I'm going to say, yeah, no shit. This is like 20-something years ago. People didn't give a fuck. Like, this is how it was around here. I mean, you got to realize a lot of these people are dead from overdoses or from getting done the fuck in, either in, like, gunfights, knife fights, bar fights, or all sorts of shit. You know, these weren't exactly people that were on their way to be Rhodes Scholars. So there are two examples I can have that actually cite one of the reasons I'm a little bit skeptical about giving these kids, you know, like the whole thing without any parental consent or looking into it. There are two girls in this neighborhood, and these names are a bit of a swipe at them. They're actually based on their real names, but this is what people called them. One of the girls, her name was Bettina, but everyone called her Butana. And what Butana means, it's Sicilian slang. That literally means whore. And yeah, there's another girl in the neighborhood. Her name was Maureen, and everyone used to refer to her as Horeen. I didn't like that they called these girls these names, but I digress. Bettina, who they called Butana, she got knocked up in 6th grade the first time when she was 12. And she got knocked up, I think, like clockwork, probably every few weeks to few months afterwards. She was a fun girl like that. Now, her womb actually went toxic from all of the abortions that she had. And that was the thing, because it wasn't illegal. The parents couldn't sue anybody, because by the time this girl was 16, she couldn't have children. Because she just kept getting abortions. You got to realize this girl looked really good. And she was hanging out with, and this isn't actually because this isn't a racial thing when I say she was hanging out with like the Dominicans and the El Salvadorians up over in like Queens and Brooklyn. It's because they didn't know her age, you see. So she was pulling a fast one on them. So she was hanging out with guys who were like 22 years old when she was like 13, 14 years old, and she was getting knocked the fuck up. And then they found out, oh shit, I'm going to go to jail. So they take the girl in, no questions asked, and they get the abortion for $300 and change. That's the reason that Planned Parenthood did it, because you had a lot of these girls. I mean, you know, I'll go over by one of my sisters, and she lives right by the school, and you'll actually see the girls go into one entrance, get dropped off to parents, and then they go out the back of the school, and they walk through the park, and they go and they meet up with somebody, get in the car, and they drive off. And like this girl, she had so many abortions, her womb went toxic. But you flip the script, and there was the other girl, Horeen. God forgive me that they came up with these names for these girls. She actually did the other thing, like Tara was talking about. This one family, they had money. They live up on the North Shore, I think up over near Muttontown, by where the fuck is his name? Sean Hannity. He lives up over there by where Cornelius Vanderbilt built his estate, where they got that museum with the light show and shit now. This family lived up there, and they couldn't have any kids. And this girl, I mean, she literally looked like a Barbie doll. And she just, I mean, you'd sneeze and this girl would get pregnant. And I used to hear things about her. I was friends with her, and I heard things said about her. I used to think they used to talk shit because she had blonde hair and blue eyes, but people used to say things like it was a rite of, if you were in the football team, it was a rite of passage to, take a dip with Maureen. And again, this is just shit I heard. I like her. She was always nice to me. So I don't think she's a bad person, but I digress. She wound up cranking out having kids, I think, when we were in either junior high or high school. And it was arranged, and I guess they were paying her. I don't know how the fuck it was working, because she kept cranking out kids that looked like Lebensborn children. And these people up in the North Shore bought like 7 or 8 of these kids off of her. So she was basically in high school. She was cranking out litters of kids. I remember her coming to school every day, pregnant as fuck.
But she was like a puppy mill, a walking puppy mill.
Yeah. Like, I remember, and I just want to stress this. This in no way reflects my state as a whole. Like, when I went to school, I went to one of the last stop schools for my area. You have last stop, and then the next stop after that is Juvie Hall. Juvie Hall by me was Brennan High School. That was the juvenile school. That's where you went. Like, it was you went there instead of going to a regular school. You went to this thing during the day. And I went to the last stop before Brennan. And when I was in school, like the whole high school, there was maybe 40 kids in it. And we had co-ed gym. And I remember we were playing volleyball, and we only had 2 girls that were playing with us because the other 14 were on the sidelines pregnant. Yeah. That's back when my high school had the highest number of AIDS counts, active AIDS cases in school. I remember. We actually came in 2nd or 3rd in, I think, juvenile delinquency behind Roosevelt High School, which is the high school that was Howard Stern's alma mater. And the only reason that they lost that year is because the high school building got condemned.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Otherwise, we would have beat them. Fuck, we even beat out Uniondale, which I was amazed at, because there's been times I was up in Uniondale I got shot at. So. Oh, man. But, yeah. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if I can really say I'm for this, like, just letting these kids have permission without, like, any parental consent or any input, because I think that's part of the problem with these kids to begin with, that they're going off and getting all sorts of wonderful diseases before they're even old enough to vote, is because the state keeps interfering, saying, well, mommy and daddy don't have to get involved in your life. Well, who the fuck are you to get involved in the family? Stay out. You're supposed to be watching over the roads and tunnels and the fucking sewers and the power lines and shit. Who the fuck said you interfering in the family?
Well, to be fair, they can't even, in New York, they can't even watch over a bridge, right?
That's my whole point. Yeah. Seriously, if they can't even do something like fix the road with the potholes, I really want them to step in and say, no, we're going to guide you in what's best with the family. I don't like that. That, to me, it's an overreach that the government shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
You know? Like, think about this. How many of you, when you were a kid, if you did something really wrong and you broke a rule when you were a little kid, you get your hair pulled, or you get pulled by your ear, or you get a smack on your ass, or you get a smack on the wrist, or, something of that nature. Nowadays, that's abuse.
Yeah.
That's from the government saying it's abusive. I was a kid. If I did something really wrong, I get the shit beat out of me. I don't mean like, you know, my father wouldn't sit there and box me like I was a grown man. He'd grab me by the hair, he'd smack me on my ass a few times, literally give me a kick in the ass and tell me get outside and strip the paint off the boat and give it 2 coats. I was a well-behaved boy because I didn't want to do that. It was a great deterrent.
Oh, I was a demon. I just never got caught.
Oh, I got caught constantly.
Actually, I got caught 3 times, and all 3 times I got my ear pulled, and that taught me never to get caught. And after those 3 times, I never got caught.
You got to look at it this way, bro. I've been 6'2" and over 200 pounds since I was 12 years old when I was in 6th grade. So I was a little bit under that, you know, the years going up to it. Once I got to 3rd grade, I exploded. I was as tall as the teachers. I just got big quick. Now, I'm only saying this to illustrate because it was the 1980s and I was in New York. Everyone was wearing day glow in my grade. So there is no way I could get away with anything. Bro, I looked like a fucking a Prius going down the street, you know? Seriously, there's no way I could get away with anything like trying to sneak past my father because I'm sitting out there, you know, in like my lime green tracksuit with my sneakers on and shit. And yeah, there's no way.
In Texas.
You're like a Prius going down the street. That reminds me of a Jeff Dunham joke about Priuses.
I just did it.
Yeah.
I actually saw one the other day.
What, Priuses? What, you guys don't get them down there?
Not often.
My mom has a Prius, so every time she comes to visit, I see one.
Oh, I make it a daily thing because they're all over the place here. So I have those in the Honda Insights. So, you know, it's one of those things like whenever you see somebody with a Prius, it's so funny. Like the ones with the Priuses, it's always the same exact thing. They have on the button down short sleeve. It would look like, you know, like a shirt that you'd wear with a suit, but for whatever reason, the sleeves end at the elbows. They all have those exact shirts on with the fucking tie. They all have the friggin' gigantic commie beard and the glasses. Oh. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching them and they're driving, and I'm thinking to myself, you know that this asshole is listening to Radiohead right now.
Oh,
what's Radiohead?
Yeah.
Yeah, Radiohead that's what communists listen to. It was a precursor to emo.
Oh, it's easy to scare them too, and you'll love this. So, a few days ago, I was parked behind one in my truck. Now, you can rev very easily in a standard. It's not so easy in a fucking semi or a fucking automatic transmission. So I'm sitting behind this guy and the light goes green and he's just sitting there on his fucking phone. So I just kind of kick it out of gear, hold the brake pedal down and just slam the pedal in and he jumps. Because every time you stop a Prius, the engine turns off.
Yeah. They got that annoying thing built into them. I was actually looking years ago before I realized how bad they were for the environment, because a lot of people don't realize it. You know, I'm an environmentalist, and I actually was looking into at one point getting one of those things before. Who the fuck called the thing a white guilt mobile? And I lost my shit when I heard that. I was like, oh my god, fucking white guilt mobile. But I digress. That. You know, I was looking into it. Those things, they're a horrible ecological disaster, what they do to the environment. I was looking into hybrid cars for a while until I started watching this guy on YouTube. About a week or two ago, I stumbled across him. I think he's a transplant down by you guys. He moved down to Texas. Sounds like he's from Chicago or Cleveland or Detroit originally, from that accent. But the guy's like 70-something years old, and he's a mechanic, and he's got this huge YouTube channel with like 2 million followers or whatever. Like just this huge amount of people that watch him because he's a mechanic. And he was saying, don't ever buy hybrid, you know, because there's no point in buying it. He said either buy an electric or buy a gas car, you know, one or the other. Don't pick this hybrid crap because that's exactly what it is. It's crap. It's not. It doesn't work properly because they're trying to combine two different systems, and they shouldn't be doing that because he said they don't last. They constantly break. Oh,
yeah, they
all
really
right.
do. They
Yeah.
really do, because I'm constantly fixing my mom's.
I was actually looking into grabbing one of those. You know, it was, you know, I like the planet, so it's one of the reasons I had been looking into it. And you know, it's unfortunate. Like that's the thing. Like I tell people all the time. People forget because you know I'm a Trump supporter. I am a liberal progressive. You know, or progress. I tell people all the time. Progressive, liberal, conservative is the tag that I use. And you know, so I was always looking into shit like that. I was interested. Oh, okay, they got environmental stuff. I'll look into it. Like when me and her leased the last car we had before she got her Acura, we had at least a Civic, and it was one of the ones that had the eco thing on it.
Oh yeah, the Eco Boost.
Yeah, and it was nice, and you know because we got green credit for it here in the state. That's the reason we did that. So you
It
know
also improved gas mileage.
yeah, and it counts as green credit here. So you know, we got the Eco Boost for that. You know, and I've never really had a problem with, you know, hybrids or solar cars or things of that nature. But I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't like when they turn around and they say, okay, we're going to stop making muscle cars or we're going to stop making tuner cars. And I'm like, why? You can make all of your nice, clean, efficient, environmentally friendly cars. You shouldn't try to force everybody, though, to give up what they love.
Right.
Yeah.
So just looking at it this way, I was out eating at one of my favorite Chinese restaurants, and I happened to be sitting by the window, and I looked out, and I noticed something that I'd noticed a few times before, but it really kind of struck me, and the kinds of cars that people buy are, most people buy something very boring, and it reflects very much so in the colors that people choose. I think out of all the cars in the parking lot, there was only a few, just a scant handful of cars that were not painted white, gray, or black, or some shade, some variation shade between each of these values. It's very, very monochromatic, very, very boring, and the kinds of cars too, just like, and that there was a lot of minivans, there was a lot of Suburbans, there was a lot of SUVs, there was a lot of really plain, sort of boring looking sedans. There wasn't a whole lot of like really kind of sporty looking cars. The lines were very conventional, very serviceable, very, very, very boring. There was only just a scant handful of cars that were any other color than white, gray, or black, that had nice lines, that looked interesting, that looked a little sporty, that looked fun.
Hey, I like my black Ford F-150.
Let me ask
my
you
favorite
this.
color.
Other than obviously pickups, because I know that your state leads the nation in pickup trucks, but other than that, and obviously SUVs, well, more sporty leaning SUVs, I should say. But other than like, you know, pickups, what do you guys see on the road a lot down there?
Honestly, in this town, I don't see very many SUVs. More of what I see are the Corvettes, like the Corvette Stingray, the newer one, the Camaro, the Mustang. I've seen quite a few Hyundais down here. And lately I've been seeing a lot of Honda Civics.
Yeah, Honda Civics, Honda CRVs. Those are really popular in Texas.
Yeah, the CRVs. That's another one I've been seeing.
Okay, so breaking up the car talk.
Mm-hmm.
So evidently there is this new wave going around, especially for evangelicals. It's not okay for women to have babies.
What?
What?
Well, we won't have to hear from those evangelicals for long. Just give it a few
Explain
generations.
that one.
Give me a second, and I will.
Are they supposed to build robot babies?
We don't need any more humans. It is not okay for women to have babies and stop contributing to the process. We don't need children. If you find yourself pregnant, there are options, and you can have an abortion. No babies. Cut off the baby factories. We have.
The natural world is collapsing around us, and that's actually happening right now. Basically, last year I came to the decision that I couldn't bring a child into that.
There's scientific consensus that the lives of children are going to be very difficult. And it does lead, I think, young people to have a legitimate question. Is it okay to still have children?
I don't want to do it. You can't make me. It feels like, oh, interesting. Does Hillary think? Hillary seems to think that she doesn't know anybody more capable than she is, and that may very well be true, that there isn't anybody more capable than she is. But she says, just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. Give me the seat, and maybe there's no way that we can stop this, but maybe there's a way. Trump is going to go exactly down the road, probably as fast as possible, into what Obama calls the worst possible outcome, which is widespread famine, widespread drought, civil unrest, total collapse of social structures. That's true. You keep going up and we'll start pumping up dead children behind you saying, follow that bird, follow. I think that's a good name. Follow the soul who's going up. That's true. Leading a large.
Good God. Okay, I just want to interject here.
This is the alt left, by the way.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. I just want to interject here and say that it may. This is going to sound bad, but every one of these women sounds like the ones that would be handing out the poisoned Kool-Aid at the cult event.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking the same thing.
The British accent didn't surprise me.
Yeah, a couple of Australians in there too. You know, they sound like the type of women that ritualistically shave each other's head while singing hymnals. Like they just like, you know, where they take religion and they make it weird.
These are the kind of women that write really, really cringy scripts, like for skits.
Yeah,
and
they do snap poetry.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, I couldn't even get. This is the furthest I've gotten in this video. I can't get past it.
So Tara, you want to explain to us again why you were associated with these people for as long as you were?
Because they weren't that fucking crazy.
Really? This all just happened suddenly. They've been crazy for a while. Like, look, I mean, I didn't know that. I'll give you that much. I didn't know that they were that fucking banana bonkers batshit until I seen the Democratic National Convention in 2016. Holy shit, did that scare me.
What happened there?
When Bernie lost the nomination, they basically, it looked like when they all started marching out in solidarity because Bernie wasn't getting the nomination, it looked like the Nuremberg rally. I'm not even joking. And I remember the commentator saying, well, apparently the party has gone far left. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. And then they proceeded to go outside and go into Philadelphia with Jill Stein, who was running for president, leading them through the streets as they caused a riot and were flipping over cars and burning shit. And that's when I said, oh my God, I'm actually less frightened of the right. And that's when I started looking into going, and trying to get in contact with different people, because I've been a journalist for years. But when I seen that happening, I was like, holy shit. Like, I would just assume that the rest of the country had, been lost for a while, especially when Obama got elected. Living up here and seeing the way that it's decayed up here, you tend to think that the rest of the country is that bad. But when Trump was running, and I just saw how people all over the country were actually like there, and proud, and wanted to save the country and to fix it and everything, it gave me hope. Like, you got to understand how desolate it is up here. I mean, it's all these rich scumbags. That's why I was asking what type of cars you guys see, because what you see up here all day are $50,000 and up luxury cars all over the place. I mean, these people they have money and they live in their ivory towers, their gated houses they all have cameras on their houses. They all have guns. You can have guns in New York. Don't ever let anyone tell you. You can't have a carry permit, but you can have a gun in your house. You can actually have all sorts of shit in your house. Like, people come here thinking, oh, New Yorkers don't have guns. They go walk up into a house and then they hear because the guy just, locked and loaded his AR and he's got it pointed right at your skull. A lot of
looked at my interactions. I got 4 up and 7 down. Thank you, assholes. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well,
so
yeah.
The Occupy Democrats Facebook page. There's a video post. A Southern liberal man just revealed the surprising reason he loves MAGA hats.
Oh, they're nice, colorful, festive.
Makes it easier to target people. Watch.
I had one conversation and it changed my entire view of them. If you don't know, there's an app out now. So the MAGA hat crowd can find harassment-free places that they can go and eat or drink or shop or whatever. I found this funny. I had a guy message me and tell me that he was disappointed in me because I don't know what it's like to wear one of those hats. I'm like, okay, do tell. So he tells me 5 little things. Completely changed my view. Completely. I mean, instantly. He puts his hat on and goes into town. People will stare at him, sneer. They don't say anything. They don't do anything. But they just look at him like he's trash. And I'm like, nah, I know, I'm one of them. Then he told me this story about coming out of the Target. And he was in the parking lot pushing his buggy, and somebody rolled by and yelled, "Bigot." He didn't know if he was going to be able to make it to his car before they made it to him. If they decided to stop and get out, it was a little scary. He was in a bar talking about Trump in a positive light. I guess he said MAGA a couple of times, and the manager of the establishment came over to him and told him to speak in a way that was friendlier to the rest of the guests.
And then there's an advertisement.
Superstore is hit by a superstorm.
We need to.
And I can't mute it.
I have a child here. That is an amazing offer, but why don't we just try and get out of here alive before we start eating the children, huh?
All right.
He went into a little Mexican store down in Panama City, and they served him, but they made sure to tell him not to wear it in there again. He said that so many things like that have happened to him over the last year or so, he doesn't even want to wear it anymore. Those stares, those sneers, those are the microaggressions you've been saying don't exist. They are very real, and now you've experienced them. Being in a parking lot, that whole story, I would imagine that's a whole lot like the people that roll by Home Depot and yell, "I'm calling immigration." You got papers. It's just a joke. You're not hurting anybody. Didn't mean to scare anyone. That little incident in the Mercado. You're just dressed different. You're not hurting anybody, are you? Pull your pants up, boy. And now, so many things like that have happened, and you're worried about your treatment at the hands of society, so you want to hide who you are. Well, I will allow the LGBTQ community to give you tips on leading a closeted life. Oh yeah, I love the MAGA hat now. Love it. It's a fantastic teaching tool. You use it to illustrate so many things about society. Of course, the difference is you take that stupid hat off anytime you want to. Really was going to buy one tonight, but I only buy American. By the way, those harassment-free zones you're looking for, those are safe spaces. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.
All right, let me unpack what that piece of shit was just saying. The people at the Home Depots, statistically, they're known for raping little girls. They're known for crime. They're known for drugs. They're known for all sorts of things. Disease. We have cholera up here now because of these unwashed fucking animals that come in here. And let's all not forget, my grandfather was an illegal. So it's not exactly like I'm shooting too far, from home. The fact of the matter is, what's going on, like he's talking about microaggressions. No, there's no such thing as a microaggression. That's called being a douchebag. If you can keep your problems to yourself and do what we do, which is go on the internet and talk about it, if you have to take that shit out in public, it's not being microaggressive. You're a douchebag. You can't control yourself. You have a problem. So, like this guy, he's talking about, well, you can take that hat off. What this asshole wants and the society he wants to live in is what they do is they put serial numbers on your fucking back of your neck that can't be removed. So he should really watch what he wishes for. Like, I'm saying this as somebody who's a real liberal. What you just heard from people was an authentic scumbag. And don't ever kid yourself otherwise. What he's trying to do is conflate things. Like, why in the fuck did he bring up the LGBTQ fucking XYZ hashtag fucking Twitter signal, whatever fucking else thing that they have on there? Why did he bring that
the
up?
alphabet soup.
Yeah, seriously. Like, for all we know, the guy that was talking to him about the hat, he could have been flamboyantly gay. Because most of the people that I've met when I went down to D.C., the most vocal people were usually the Latinos for Trump and the gays for Trump. So I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about, but you could tell from listening to him, I think he was on his second snifter of double malt. So
yeah. And let me just tell you this: some of the most avid supporters of the Second Amendment that I've ever communicated with online belong to a little organization called the Pink Pistols.
Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things. Again, it's these ivory tower pieces of shit. They look down their nose at other people. And I hate saying it, Make America Great Again is specifically always about two things in this country: infrastructure and economy. It has nothing to do with these wedge issues. Nothing. It has nothing to do with that.
Since the 1990s, it's hot button wedge issue Democrats that is the Clintonian Democrat. That is the quintessential, stereotypical, dyed in the wool, cookie cutter Clintonian Democrat is a wedge issue Democrat. And they really haven't changed much. Actually, the only way that they've changed is they've gotten more extreme. They've gotten further left since the 1990s.
Well, let's be completely fair. This has always been, and I've said this before, and I'll say this again. I have no shame in my game. I blame the Republicans just as much because they either were enablers because they were neocons and they just wanted to blow shit up. So they let the Democrats get whatever they wanted as long as they could blow shit up.
Yep.
Or they were true blue conservatives where they were always the rise above, the we go high, the Rand Pauls, who are great people, but are not good at fighting. And that's the problem that we had. And that's the reason that the country got into the state it was in, is because you had the left, which was full of spoiled brats, and you had the right, which was full of either pansies are gun nuts. And I'm not talking gun nuts like the people like, you know, who are into guns like, you know, rifles and shit. I'm talking guns like, you know, fucking guns on a ship. I'm talking these guys are like, let's turn the Middle East into a parking lot made out of glass because we can. That's what the problem was with the Republican Party in the later part of the 20th century and the early part of the 21st century is the neocon infestation that they had going on. Like, I'll be completely honest, I was shocked the other day that Liz Cheney was making the most sense in the room. That's really showing you that the left has gotten out of hand when you have Dick Cheney's wife is the one that's making the most sense when she's speaking. I mean, not that she doesn't make sense, don't get me wrong, but we all remember Dick Cheney. The man would walk into a room and the fucking temperature would drop 10 degrees. I mean,
Yeah.
he could ice a room. You know,
all the cream would curdle.
Yeah. Yeah, you know. It's not even, you know, I hate saying it like calling the man flat out evil because, I mean, let's get down to brass tacks. The late 20th century, the Soviet Union had collapsed, and that threw the Middle East into a fucking tizzy because you had all of the stands. You had Uzbekistan, Kurdistan, all those fucking stands, Kazakhstan, which, you know, that's Afghanistan, which, for those of you who aren't following, those are like the Ural Mountains up over there. That all went nuts when the Russians collapsed, and that's part of the reason that Cheney was over there trying to blow everything the fuck up. Because it just went wild when, you know, when Russia... You guys got to remember, for about a good 20 years, Russia was the Wild West. And until Putin took the reins is really when it started to calm down. And that's one of the reasons, you know, I say this. I'm a begrudging Putin supporter. I'm not too big of a fan of the guy, but I know what the hell he's up against over there. I know that he's a necessary evil, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, Mechanic, you know what I'm saying. You're familiar with the situation over there, so you know what I'm saying. It's one of those things where it's unfortunate. I hate saying it's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate we need somebody like that over there right now. And that was the problem we had was the Eastern Bloc was a fucking powder keg. And we are fortunate. We're fortunate, and I say this honestly, I don't agree with Styx Hexenhammer at all in his characterization of President Bush, and I'll tell you why. Look, the world that Bush inherited and Bush's cabinet inherited was in the middle of a fucking tempest. Like the world stage at that point, I mean, you had Bosnia, you had Kosovo, you had Sarajevo, you had all that shit going on over there. You had Yugoslavia collapsing. You had the Czech Republic, and you had all that crazy shit that was going on in that point in time. And not to mention, you know, the 9/11. Let's not even forget about that. I'm talking about the world scene, not even what we had happen here at home. But they really, like, if it wasn't for Bush being the president he was with the cabinet he had, I think a weaker person would have let that cabinet rule and run all over him, and they probably would have blown up half of the planet. I honestly always said I felt that he kept them at bay. Like, he tamed those people. Like, you know, a lot of people, they like to talk about Bush being a warmonger. Like, I honestly look at him with a sympathetic light. Like, I've honestly always said to myself, I felt that it would have been even worse. Like, I honestly think he curbed them a little bit. Because if you ever seen the movie W by Oliver Stone,
yeah,
his whole cabinet is bloodthirsty as fuck, and you see he's the whole time in the movie he's curbing them. He's like, you know, maybe we shouldn't bomb them off of the face of the earth just yet. You know, when we try negotiations there. You know,
John Ashcroft, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, all these guys, all these neocons.
Yeah.
Scary motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Each one of them, when they walked into the room, all the cream would curdle.
Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things. Sorry.
I can't remember who it was. I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me, but he was being interviewed. I don't remember who the hell was interviewing him, but he was being interviewed. He was part, I think it was the Central Intelligence Agency in the 1980s. And he was being asked about all these guys that were in Bush's cabinet. He said, so we used to run across these guys all the time back in the 80s in the agency, and we considered them the crazies. I can't for life, if I could find that interview and who that was, I'll post it somewhere.
Well, just bring it up the next time we're on air. That's all. But
all right,
yeah, it's, again, I'm not trying to devil's advocate and sound like I'm being sympathetic for these guys, but when you look at the world stage, and I realize it because you know what it is. I was there at that time. That was actually like the age where I was looking to enlist. Holy shit, I can't believe I'm going to be 40. But, that's the age I was looking to go overseas. And that's part of the reason, not just the towers dropping, but there was so much shit going on over there. And, I look at it, I mean, yeah, these neocons, everyone's talking about how they wanted to blow up everything. I mean, the only one I'll honestly say who seems to fit that mold of just being a warmonger was, I hate saying it, may he rest in peace, John McCain. He was the closest one to, what I've seen in like his actual delivery. I mean, there are other people. I mean, holy shit, Bolton. I mean, I honestly, look, I'll be honest with all of you right now. This is why I don't want to say too much about what I think the president's, his plan and his policy is. But I can honestly say, I think the reason that he has John Bolton is to scare the fuck out of people. Honestly.
Yeah.
That's really why I think he has Bolton. Because Bolton scares people. But I mean,
it looks like one of those scary dudes that you either work for or was like a teacher that was like really strict, and whenever you screwed up, you'd come up and you just, all you'd see was like his teeth flashing from under that big bush of a mustache, and just fuck you, and then
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think the president got him. But I mean, you look at it like all of those people from that era. I honestly thought we were going into World War III, and to their credit, the neocons did keep us from, they kept our interests secure, and they kept basically shit from falling apart. Now, how they handled the Middle East, because if you look into it, the cabinet sent somebody over there. You got to realize, especially up until Obama was in there was a lot of bipartisanship, and they sent over some Democrat moron, and he just fucked up the Middle East. I forget who the fuck this guy was that was in charge over there, but he was the one that basically started fucking up everything. When they said they want to do nation building,
yeah,
this guy basically destroyed a nation. He had no idea what he was doing. He shouldn't have been there. He was like, it was nepotism or cronyism. He was like somebody's cousin.
When was this again?
It was whoever the fuck Bush's administration put in charge of the nation building. That's the reason we've had such problems over there for the past 20-something years. This man literally fucked up that entire nation. I forget who it was. I was watching some documentary. I think it might have been actually Oliver Stone's documentary. And it was showing how this one single man was responsible for basically the collapse of the Middle East under Bush's presidency, because he fucked up every country this guy went into. He didn't know what he was doing. He would tear shit down. He was just a complete moron. And he was just somebody with clout who got this position. I really got to try to find that documentary myself now, since we're talking about things we got to find and post later, because I found it really interesting. Because to me, it's one of those things. I guess Bush was not the world's best micromanager. I don't think he was a bad person. I hear the way Sticks Hexenhammer like really rips into the man, and I don't think it fits him at all. I think, like you said, you named like that fucking rogues gallery he had working for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's not forget Condoleezza Rice.
Good old Condi.
Oh yeah, if anyone was pulling the strings, I mean, you know, his presidency and his administration is part of the reason I've always had a problem with Republicans. You know, yeah. I didn't have a problem with them until Bush's presidency, and it isn't even the president that is the reason it was his fucking cabinet that I had a problem with the Republican Party from. You know,
yeah,
they cast a real pall over the party, and
well, that's what neocons do.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it pales in comparison to what the next administration did to the Democrats.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for all the polish that Clinton's presidency put back onto the Democratic Party, wow. Just wow, did Obama do a number on it. I look at it this way. If you think about all the things he fucked it over for the Democrats, and I'm sorry. I honestly think that he left such a bad taste in the American people's mouth. I really hope it doesn't fuck it over for the next black guy who tries to run. As an American, that's something I hope for. It's gonna bother me, you know, if like seriously, because you know we got more than enough black people that are qualified for that office who I would love to see run, you know. And yeah, hey Burnside.
Ew.
What's going on, bro?
Not too much. Same old. Technical difficulties, shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, shit's always not to cooperate.
I'm gonna get you a sign to hang in front of your camera that says technical difficulties.
I don't have enough Sharpies. I mean, I could Photoshop something, but you know me, man. I'll wind up eating through an entire thing of printer ink.
Don't worry, I'll just send it to you. Like, I will physically send the sign to you.
Nice.
You can just hang it in front of your camera. Please wait, we are experiencing technical difficulties.
This message brought to you by Kinko's.
Pretty much.
So, you missed it, Burnside. You missed it by a few minutes. We were just listening to a video that Tara had of these evangelicals who went completely nuts. It's these evangelical women. They're trying to tell people to not have children because of how evil the world is and all of the sin. And if you're pregnant, get an abortion because this is not a world to bring children into. And then they start explaining it's because of Donald Trump, and it's because of global warming. You see.
I would love to see them say that to a Muslim.
Here, let me transport y'all back to 1933.
Yeah, I know, right? Shit.
I'll show you the real meaning of evil. His name was Hitler. Fucking psychopath. I'm sure they get along.
He was nowhere near as bad as what came after him, though. I mean, if you look at the rest of them, I mean, Stalin and Mao.
Well,
oh yeah.
Honestly, I think Hitler was worse simply because he did it on a global scale, and he was a fucking genius.
Yeah, Adolf Hitler.
I don't know, man. I think Mao has Hitler beat.
He had a working model of a flying wing design years before we even conceived it.
Yeah. The Luftwaffe, they designed it. Germany had Germany had the best engineering. They had the best scientists. You have to remember, before World War I, Vienna was, and even up until World War II, but before World War I even, Vienna was the seat of science. You got to think Sigmund Freud. He was from Vienna.
I don't think they ever got the flying wing flying before he died.
he had a working model of it. It would fly. If they ever got it up in the air, it would fly perfectly. But it never got out of its whole testing phase.
Okay.
But they had an actual working model of it.
Yeah, if you're interested in looking into it, Kelt, you can look into not the Flying Wing, but you can look into the Thule project. That was the code name. That was the code name
Thule
for
Society.
Well, no, not the Thule Society. This is the thing, the Thule project. That was the code. That was the code name for their flying bell. They called it. It was a flying saucer.
Oh,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It wasn't the flying saucer. It was literally a flying wing.
No, the other one I'm talking about. The
thing
thing that looks like it was a flying bell, but it was actually what we think of like when we think of a 1950s flying saucer. Like if they ever show you pictures.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about Der Gulag, I think is what the project was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that
that's the thing that allegedly, if you follow the full story, that's allegedly the thing we caught in the 80s. Because it was Idaho, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but in Idaho there was a UFO call, and they found this giant bell-shaped object, which allegedly was, it looked pretty damn close to the Bell project that the Vril, Thule, whichever one of them in the SS was working on in Poland.
Yeah, if you look, a lot of the pictures that they had of flying saucers down in the Midwest in the 1950s and the 60s, the early 60s, late 50s, a lot of that is from what I've heard, was appropriated, captured tech through Operation Paperclip that they were trying to figure. Yeah, they were trying to figure out, and that's what
they were trying to figure out what the hell it was, the hell it did.
That's what Area 51 has always been. It's been a testing ground for whenever they would capture shit. You have to realize, during Korea, we captured shit also. We captured shit in Vietnam. We would always capture small things because you got to realize, just as the same as whenever we were at war, whenever you have like the other, like the Russians, when they would, they would give their allies tech, they would also send like an officer in a unit down there to test out like the new shit that they're working on. So a lot of times we were capturing tech, like we were capturing MiGs that were like a generation or two ahead of what they were supposed to be because they were testing it out in like jungle areas. A lot of the shit you read in comic books sometimes isn't that far-fetched. Like when they show a couple of Soviets down there testing out new shit in the jungle, that's actually not that far-fetched. We, in turn, did a lot of things also. If you look, for example, the U-2 spy planes, one of them got shot down. Those things weren't supposed to exist.
Actually didn't get shot down and had a failure.
Okay. Oh, is that what happened? I always thought it got shot down by a SAM site.
No, it had a failure.
Oh, damn! And here I thought it was SAM sites. Because remember back then, the Soviets had some pretty good SAMs and the like.
Well, those things were designed to fly at extreme altitude, and literally, you were flying the edge because you were right on the edge of stall out and flight. And you weren't using hydraulics to fly this thing. You were using wires. So
tension and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, Kelt, exactly. Eventually, that's the design that eventually the Americans tried to turn into a flying saucer. I guess because the larger skirt lip gave them better lift or whatever, however the physics of the thing works. Because you'll see,
it might have been easier to balance if it was wider.
Yeah, that's I guess what the Americans tried to figure out. Because you'll see a lot of the flying saucers in the 50s look like almost like a hubcap, where it's got like the raised center, like kind of like that bell shape, but then it's got the long like lip that surrounds it, which is where we get the saucer name.
The disc.
Hold on, Patches.
Yeah, like if I remember correctly, most of the different Bell or Flying V and other UFO projects that the Vril and them were working on, I know it was a combination of electromagnetics, and there was, in the case of the Foo Fighter project, what they wound up doing is they had a series of copper tubings or something like that, if I remember correctly, and they'd pump liquid mercury through it. And what they'd wind up doing is they electrified the mercury, and it wound up becoming real bright, and it made a EMP effect when it would go and top out, because basically what it'd do is they'd have this thing moving around in all sorts of different circular directions that would build up a self-sustaining electromagnetic current, and then that would kick in with the mercury, and then it would produce some anti-gravity products or something like that. I forget what the exact terminology for it is, but long story short, you know, the longer they ran it, the more anti-grav it would have. And then when it wound up shorting out, it would create an EMP effect.
Anti-gravitational force, I think, is the term you're looking for.
Yes, that is definitely what I was looking for, term-wise. Thank you.
Well, from what I remember exactly is, from what I remember how this worked, it actually worked under the same principle as a gyroscope, and it was actually, it worked like centrifugal force. That the mercury was going around, like Burnside said, it was flying around the thing in like a cyclical pattern. But the problem was the magnetic field that it was generating inside the ship, if I remember, it was causing the guys to go nuts. That's part of the reason that they couldn't use these things.
Oh, yeah, that's also a very likelihood. I mean, shit, they gave their soldiers a lot of strange shit. Yeah. I mean, shit, the SS were given Previtin, and that was basically low-grade speed, or high-grade speed, depending on, you know,
it was literally, it was just prescription speed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was?
We came up with...
It was mass-produced speed.
And our version was methamphetamine. We took their version, and we decided we can make something much better, and we made meth.
Yeah, literally, the Blitzkrieg was fueled by methamphetamines.
Yeah.
So we have Hitler and the Nazis to thank for all the meth trailers.
Oh, hell with them. No. The meth is all ours. We took the Nazis' invention and we made it better. Damn it, we made meth.
They were.
I'm reading the chat. Apparently, I'm popular enough to put my link on to fucking 4chan. Yay!
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
4chan. All right, I guess we're doing something right, ladies and gents. We're 4chan famous now.
Although I couldn't find it, but whatever.
The Nazis were distributing speed in packets that...
Fuck the Nazis. We're talking about me being on 4chan now.
But that got us on 4chan.
Yeah. But the Nazis were distributing speed in pills, in Mentos, in wrappers like Mentos, and it said Brevichan on it. And it was part of every standard field kit.
Hey, I got a question.
You know, I think you are right.
You think
literally, you can go look it up. They were making these tablets by the millions each day.
Oh, that's funny.
My brother has a question. What's up?
Yeah, do you think any of these German captured soldiers ever confused their speed for a cyanide pill?
Oh my god.
I'm not dead, but I've been sprinting for the last 7 hours.
Sounds about right. Shit.
Oh, that's so
I've been
funny.
sprinting for the last 9 hours.
Well, a lot of them, they would put the cyanide pill in a false tooth. That's where a lot of them had it. They would like...
That's an awkward dentist visit.
Yeah.
I was trying to...
They'd already have the tooth removed anyway. It was usually a back molar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something you can easily disguise.
Then they knock it out of place with their tongue, put it between two teeth, and bite down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, sometimes a lot of them, what they figured out later on, I had seen actually one of these. They showed it on a diagram. I forget what the hell program I was watching. But some of these guys...
The History Channel before it sucked.
Yeah, and what it was, the tooth itself was like hollow with a glass tube in it, and they would literally just like you said, they'd bite down and the tube would just shatter right then and there. And I said to myself, that's gotta really make you nervous when you're eating certain foods.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You bite down too hard in any one given situation and you're fucked.
That's why they they would literally chew on one side of their mouth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you trip and you clack your teeth too hard together, whoops, you're dead.
That did happen.
Well,
yeah,
I guess
what happens if you're an undercover spy, and let's say, it was the 30s and 40s, people threw, unlike nowadays, people threw punches constantly. Can you imagine you get into a bar fight, like you're undercover, one of these guys cracks that tooth? Holy shit. You need the guy that cracked the tooth, too. You punch the guy, all of a sudden his eyes start bulging, he starts foaming at the mouth, grabs you, he's turning purple, and he dies in your arms.
Yeah, fuck that.
You probably go become a priest. I punched a guy and I killed him.
Have you ever grind your teeth in your sleep?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's too many drawbacks to that. That's
Believe
probably
it or not,
why
they had pits that they slept in.
Oh.
I'm thinking about it, more likely than not, they probably, when they made them, that's probably like the higher ups in the Nazi party or people who were going on like suicide missions. I don't think that
would normally. Yeah, your average Wehrmacht wouldn't have them.
Yeah.
That's probably an interesting litmus test for a spy. Sock them in the jaw. If they survive, they're not a spy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think the British did that.
Trail mix.
Trail mix. That's a good one. 6. Give him trail mix.
You don't want to eat the trail mix, huh? Well, you must be a spy.
Give him a Jolly Rancher.
Wait, what's this about trail mix?
Give them something that they have to chew on. Like give them like trail mix or Jolly Ranchers.
Nuts.
Yeah.
You're either a spy or you have a peanut allergy.
Or even better, give them saltwater taffy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nothing's better at pulling out false teeth than saltwater taffy.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Actually, it was for me. It was Chinese taffy that yanked out my crown.
Are you talking about that?
It's called White Rabbit. It has rice paper around it that's edible that you can just literally unwrap it with from the wax paper wrapping and then pop it in your mouth.
I tend to avoid Chinese confections.
Me too.
Especially knowing that because you might not be getting food, I hate to say. You might actually be getting sealing wax or some shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Chinese are known for making fake food.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
eggs are works of art.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you guys remember when they were turning plastic bags into rice?
Mm-hmm.
That was fucked up shit, dude.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they were turning plastic bags into rice, and they were selling it to their own people, and in a few instances, exporting it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
doesn't cook like regular rice, but it looks like rice. So that's the scam. They also sell walnuts with rocks in them. They would crack the walnut up and take the nut out, of course, and then put rocks in there and seal them back up.
Yeah, my sister, she had these 2 beautiful dogs. One of them, I think she shelled out something like $25,000 for it. And what had happened was, obviously she's got that sort of bread to get a dog. She's gonna, buy them only the best, the top end, that sort of shit. And she got money for the lawsuit, but it's not gonna replace the dogs. She was buying Blue Buffalo. And Blue Buffalo.
Oh, there's so much fucked up Blue Buffalo.
Blue Buffalo isn't on the market anymore.
Yeah.
Blue Buffalo was a Chinese company that what they were is they had a plant here in America. They would send the shit over here, and this is legal, by the way. They'd send it here, and they would assemble it here, and they would put "Made in America" on the package. So what the Chinese were doing was they found that they could make fake Chinese food, fake dog food out of the same ingredients you would use to make wood glue and furniture varnish.
Yep.
Melamine.
Yeah.
That
So-
also used to make plastic cups and stuff like that.
Yeah. So my sister's 2 dogs. One of them, now this was a half English and half French bulldog, and I think the dog got something like 30 pounds of tumors on it.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's, and this is one of the things, like, you want to sit there and say horrible shit about the Chinese people, and then you watch China Uncensored, and you see that the communists are doing even more horrific shit to their own people.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't even wish it on the Chinese people to make yourself feel better. You have to specifically get in your crosshairs communism. Because that's what killed my sister's dog, was a bunch of disgusting communists. These are the same people who are trying to take over the country right now. We call them Democrats here, though. And they're trying to do the same shit. I mean, think about it. You can go on China Uncensored and look at all of the shit that country does to their own citizens. That's what's going to happen in this country if Trump doesn't get reelected and we don't get more Republicans to get these stupid Democrats out of power.
Yeah.
I hate saying it to you guys down in Texas. I just heard that your state has fallen. It's like going blue.
I doubt it.
Well, let me be the first one to say, welcome to the party, boys. Me and Burnside have been waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah, regrettably, a lot of what we've been hearing is Austin's been teaching people to love their Obamanism.
Oh, that's Austin.
And
it's been spreading
Austin
from what
is full
we hear.
of idiots.
Well, naturally, because, I mean, yeah, it would take an idiot to go and decide, yes, communism, good. Oh, yes, bread lines.
Not,
you know.
not
I
even
love bread
that.
lines, though.
Not even that. Half the people down there, if you told them to go stand in front of a semi-truck that's barreling down the highway at 85 miles an hour, they'd do it.
I remember when the president first got elected and we were passing around those memes on Minds, like the jump for Trump.
Oh, those were great.
Yeah, but the sad thing is, how many of them would actually do shit like that?
Quite a few. Jump for Hillary.
Seriously, I mean, you think about it. I honestly, I'm trying to think of. There's got to be some way to convince these retards to do something productive.
There really isn't.
Productive.
Where we could actually get something beneficial out of them. We could actually get this. We could actually trick the left into building the wall for us by telling them that Americans have been going over and stealing from the Mexicans.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be against that because it would be a hilarious troll.
Yeah, it really would. But seriously, think about this. If we were to convince them that white Americans have been sneaking over into Mexico and specifically taking management position jobs away from the local native Mexican people, that wall would be up in a week.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They'd call it the Great White Privilege Wall or some shit.
Yeah.
The Reparation Wall or some goofy fucking shit. Could be
Mexico would probably build it.
Fuck yeah, they're the damn wall right now. Like, I remember in the first office, there was a couple people that were going around talking about some concrete companies that were in Mexico that were wanting to build the wall. And they're like, well, aren't you upset about it? It's so terrible on America. And I'm like, dude, I'll fucking pay him. That's actually great that they actually want to build it because the whole thing was Vicente Fox going around, I am not paying for your fucking walls in your Trump. And all that shit. Even though he hadn't been president in like years because he was, affiliated with the cartel and I don't know, allegedly had sex with several sheep. Allegedly, though, I don't think they proved that, but it's Vicente Fox. It really wouldn't surprise me. Mexican wolf of Bueno Street.
What is it with you and fucking animals?
Hey, it's a third world country joke.
You make that joke about Florida. Fuck you.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a sign that said, please do not touch/molest the alligators?
No, it does not. It says do not feed or touch the alligators.
Yeah, euphemistic language. Anyhow, hey guys, I gotta get up in the morning, so I gotta jump out of here.
You're not allowed to leave 6.
Ah.
Wow.
All right, 6.
Nadia, man.
But yeah, I gotta jump out of here. But
all right, good night, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Night.
I will see you guys again at a later date.
Yeah, well,
definitely. And I did enjoy your video that you did with Arcater. Good work, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My throat still hurts, but thank you.
You did well. Definitely let me know the next time you guys are doing that. That was funny.
Okay.
All right, you have a good night, bad sex.
Yeah. Okay.
Good night, bro.
Take it easy.
Yep.
I don't think he's ever going to be able to live that down.
No, he's not. And he has learned this.
Yep.
The internet is forever.
Puddin', I need to buy e-juice again.
All right, get something that's not made in China like you did last time.
I didn't get anything made in China, and mine's made in the USA, motherfucker.
Make sure you get it that's made somewhere where smelly hippies and all those other alligator fornicators aren't from.
And the only reason why I ask is because I broke down and bought some cigarettes because I'm not getting enough nicotine.
All right.
Should have got the nicotine gum.
I can't do the gum. My mom got addicted to it.
Well, damn.
That shit is nasty.
Yeah, it tastes funky.
Well, I already found 3 pudding, and it comes out to like 14 something without shipping.
All right. Let's see what money looks like come Friday.
Okay.
I'll tell you this much, though. That Nicorette gum goes really good with Jolt Cola.
You're a sick fucker.
Yes, I am.
What's Jolt Cola?
I still can't believe I am popular enough to be put on 4chan. Yay!
Congratulations.
That's actually an accomplishment. Now you're the second person on this panel who's been on 4chan.
Yeah, you're the other one.
Well, anyone who sees it, we can bet they're not New Zealand.
Well, we got 2 people in here that are, or that were in the chat. Akira says that someone posted this stream on /poll/what'd you expect? But I went to try and find it, and I couldn't find it. If you guys can find it, please, please show me.
That would be neat.
Because I want a screenshot of that shit, and I'm posting it in my server.
Yep.
You're like, look, I am popular enough to be on 4chan.
Hey, if that is very cool.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to get the entire panel on 4chan at some point in time.
Oh, I'm sure I'm on, actually. I think I'm on 4chan already, so.
Oh, God, that's funny.
Gotta go look. You have to remember, I did piss off a crazed cartoonist, so.
Yeah, and we did have a cult of furries, environmentalist furries at that.
I'm pretty sure it's one of the cult of furries that posted me on there.
Yeah.
And we did have a frog in here at one point.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
It's the chemicals in the water turning them gay again.
Yeah, but I told Lawrence do what he could.
Awesome. Thank you, Lawrence.
He has a wrench for a reason.
Cool.
What was Kermit doing here again?
I don't know.
Seriously, I thought doesn't he have, like, that fake heart like Tony Stark that he's got the jumper cables, like, and he's dragging it around on the table behind him? Oh God, I'm going to hell very fast.
Oh yeah.
You and me both, Scoob.
Scoob, according to your own religion, all Catholics are going to hell.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not a practicing Catholic. I say this all the time.
Okay, Burnside, according to your religion, all Catholics are going to hell.
No, according to Burnside's religion, everyone is going to hell.
Yeah.
No, it's his hell. He can burn in it. I'm not going to hell. I don't believe in hell.
Oh, I very much. But look, I look at it this way: if there's not a hell, there's nothing to restrain me. Like, and I don't mean restrain me like not from doing bad things, like, you know, going out and like robbing a bank or something. I wouldn't do that anyway. But it won't restrain me. Like when I, you know, when somebody's standing there and they're just being a complete asshole, why won't I beat them to death with a frying pan?
Well, the only reason why I don't do something like that is because I actually have a great fear and respect for the judicial system. And I wouldn't make it in prison. I admit that.
Oh, the judicial system doesn't bother me. I live on an island.
Yeah, well, I live in fucking America's dick. So.
You're in Wyoming?
No. That's America's asshole.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, come on, it's America's dick. We have the Florida Keys. That's the spooge coming out.
Very graphic.
Too funny.
I'm sure the people in the Keys appreciate that.
And then Cuba happens to be the puddle.
Oh, Cuba's definitely a puddle, all right. They should be freedom.
Condemned.
Cuba's a beautiful country. It's such
and Hawaii is America's turd.
Then what's Alaska?
Alaska is the tumor we don't talk about.
The frozen one. Too funny.
My brother wanted to move up to Alaska. I told him you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
He likes the cold. We're Polish.
There's a reason the government actually pays you to move up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not because it's a pleasant place.
Well, he doesn't care. You got to realize he's an ex-Marine, and his favorite ops were winter ops. And yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, and he loves the cold. I remember when I was a kid, he'd usually throw me like $50 for the day, which was a lot of money back then, to drag the hose for him when he was on the oil truck. And I remember him constantly going on and rattling on and on about how he wanted to move to Alaska when he retired because he loved the cold. I said to him, you're out of your fucking mind. I want to move to Fiji. He said, why Fiji? I said, because no one ever talks about Fiji. No one goes to Fiji. Nothing happens at Fiji. You're surrounded by beautiful Asian broads all day, and there's mixed drinks.
That sounds like a good reason to go to Fiji.
I would get bored in Fiji.
I was you got to remember, when I was younger, I was actually, I was a bit of a beach bum. So I had no problem, like, sitting under an umbrella with some big-titted bimbo, sipping pina coladas all day and getting completely shit-faced.
I got a question, boys. Who's up for a game of Cards Against Humanity online?
I'm not. I'm too tired. Maybe you could have asked me 2 hours ago. It's nearly 1 o'clock by me. I don't know. I mean, is Florida still on Florida time, or are they back on normal time?
Suck a dick, Scooby. I mean, according to you and your wife, you can suck your own.
Just wait till they get their own calendar.
What?
Just wait till Florida gets its own calendar.
Yeah, true.
The Floridian calendar.
I'm waiting for them to start renaming the days of the week after, like, action figures or some shit. God knows. I really do love that state. My mother said to me the other day, she's like, why do you make fun of that poor girl's state? I told her, I said, I think it's actually pretty wild. I love the fact that Florida's that crazy. To me, it's just awesome. I mean,
it's like going to the zoo.
The zoo. It's like going to the circus. Seriously.
It's like when everyone unlocks all the cages.
Yeah.
Like, a few people have asked me, like, why do we still do, like, Florida Man stories and that sort of thing? Because they said everyone
it's funny
does
as fuck.
Exactly.
I fell in love with Florida Man. We did one of those stories about a year ago now. And I always talk about this story. And I feel bad talking about it because somebody wound up dying. But there was this park down in Florida, and there was a Buddhist monk that I guess he was just chilling out in the park, and he was tending the flowers in the garden that were there. And out of nowhere, this guy walks up to him with his hair up in a big, long French braid, and he has an Irish Trinity knot branded in the middle of his forehead. And he took out a samurai sword and cut off the monk's head.
He must have thought he was an immortal.
That's exactly. I'm just saying. I read that when
there can only be one.
Yeah, when Six read that on the air, I said, "My God, I love this state." I truly. I mean, bro, I've lived here my entire life. We don't have ninjas attacking monks in our parks. I don't give a flying fuck what they say in the movies or comic books. It doesn't happen. Seriously, I'm doing this. I'm doing the chaos stream for maybe a month, and we got like monks and ninjas in Florida. Seriously, and Terry, you know, she always thought that I was like being sarcastic when I was saying I love her state. No, I really love that state. Where else are you going to have people in like little import tunas having a shootout?
Well, if you love my state, convince my boyfriend to move here.
I'm trying to convince him to move there. He doesn't want to listen. Move there. You can work for Disney again.
Listen.
I have job opportunities for you.
Plus, if you move there, it gives me incentive to move also.
But I don't know, man. Then we won't get your extremely hilarious TV.
Oh, Christ.
Which also, by the way, baby, you need to start doing a body count.
Oh, I have actually forgotten about that lately. I'm going to have to actually go ahead and look that up. I haven't done that in so long.
Go ahead and do it.
All right. I will
We've
be
been
right
slacking
back.
on a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, including pleasuring me.
Well, we've been slacking on the body counts, on the Florida Man stories.
I purposely try to avoid Florida Man stories.
I don't know why. They're so awesome. It's what makes your state cool. Look, otherwise, if it's not for Florida Man, look, your state is full of meth labs, old people, and Disney otherwise. Florida Man makes it cool. Seriously.
Hey, meth labs can be hilarious.
They can. I'm just thinking to myself, like, you know, I just... it's going to sound fucked up. I was talking to somebody about it. I said it's like an action movie. I'm just picturing, like, certain parts of Florida, like the guy going flying full speed in a fan boat because all the meth labs are exploding around him.
Well, I mean, the reason I say meth labs are fucking hilarious is because more than just a few years ago, there was this guy, and I remember this on the news because it was in the middle of the night, and the next morning I was watching the news. This guy had blown up his garage while he was making meth, and it wasn't just the fact that he had blown up the garage that made this story funny, but his garage door had blown completely off and wrecked the neighbor's garage across the street. The entire garage door blew off across the street and landed across the street.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I never even bothered fucking around with making bathtub crank. But you know what it is, too? No one up here does the shit. Like, there is no market for meth or crank up here at all. No one's interested in the shit. Huh?
Damn it. Okay. Okay, I got a funny for you. Okay. I would like you guys to take a guess for me of what the total homicides are. Now, you guys know, like, the different numerical catchphrases and that shit, right?
What do you mean?
Like, oh, damn it! I gotta make sure I pick them correctly or figure out a way to phrase this. Like, you know, like how you say someone's been killed or something, and then you throw a number out there.
86.
Yeah. Okay, think of all those particular numbers that are used, pick one, and I'll tell you if it is or isn't the amount of total homicides they've had for the entire year. Because I seen this and I was like, that's fucking funny. That's funny as fuck.
I'm guessing they've had about, let me see, we're in March. So far for 2019, I want to say they're up to about 400.
Ooh, for total homicides?
Yeah.
Not that many. As far as people who have been shot and wounded in total shots, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
We've had just about that many total bullets flying around. But I'm talking about total homicides, though. You're closer to the category, though.
Now, are you talking about deaths total?
Yeah, this is particularly for homicides. Now, it is one of these catchphrase numbers.
10-4.
And it's nope.
Higher or lower?
Lower. Much lower than that.
Okay, 86.
We're talking, nope, lower than that.
69?
Yep, 69. 69 total homicides year to date as of yesterday.
Very depressing number.
Yeah, for people who have been shot and killed, we've got 61. For total people who have been shot and wounded, we've got 310, and total people who have been shot at is at 371. So you're pretty close, Scoob. We're almost at 400. We're almost there. And let's see here. We've got, a person is shot every 5 hours and 18 minutes. And, oh, actually, this kind of went down. All right, a murder is committed every 28 hours and 35 minutes. So we're actually off to a slow start this year. Shit.
So every day and 3 hours?
Roughly, yeah. Let's see here. And, ooh, we have had 14 people killed by headshots and 19 that have been... Oh, yep. What? Nope. I had that backwards. 19 people have been killed from headshots. 14 people have been wounded. Yeah, well, I had to look at that a couple times.
How many ass shots?
We've got... Let me see here. For ass shots, we're looking at... Come on here, load, you bastard. We are looking at... 7. We've had 7 ass shots this year.
Lucky number 7.
Literally. So yeah, this is
13 is my lucky number.
Well, we've got, let's see here, 7 ass shots, 6 people who have shot themselves. Oh, and we have 2 testicles. 2 testicle shots.
Does it tell you how many people who have shot themselves in the foot?
Foot, leg, general extremities. I mean, somebody could have shot themselves in the head for all we know. You know, this weird shit like that happens. You know, people like to not properly hold their firearms forward and, you know, just, oh, there goes my wrist, and they shoot themselves in the ear. Oh, it's fucking funny.
Oh,
but yeah, we've had
how many
2
people
nut
have shot
shots.
themselves in the foot?
I'm gonna say out of the 6 who have shot themselves, there's at least got to be 2.
Yeah.
I'm thinking at least 2 of them, maybe 3 have shot themselves in the foot.
Random discharge.
Oh yeah. And let's see here. This year, as far as the damage done thus far, we're looking at $19 million. Almost at 19 million and one. Because
okay.
we're at,
I want you to tell me how many shootings there have been in Chicago since its establishment.
Oh, Jesus. Establishment? Oh, my God.
And I just want shootings, not deaths. Shootings.
Let me see if they have that. Let me see
way,
here.
People, this will include the Valentine's Day massacre.
Oh, I don't know if they'd go that far back. I mean, Jesus.
There's a thing called Google, baby.
All right, let me go ahead and check that.
Well, if they're averaging what 300 a year, is that what they've averaged for the past 10 years?
Roughly, yeah. We're talking about 300, 380, roughly. So
okay,
actually, yeah,
so that's
got a good idea, Scoob. So 380 times, let's see here, let's say about 100? 380 times 100?
Well, how long has it been going at that rate? I don't think that Chicago had a death rate that high in the 60s, let's say.
Oh, they were pretty close back then, man. Are you kidding me? With the fucking riots and shit that were going on back then? God, it was almost worse
Well,
than
we're talking about shootings again, remember? Shootings specifically. That's what, you know.
All right, so let's say 300 times about, let's say 35 years roughly. 380 times 35 equals 13,300 shootings. That's not bad.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, I actually had watched something. Chicago was really bad as far as death was concerned back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
It was really bad, like almost like how England was right around like the medieval period, like, you know, when it was first set up, because it grew faster than the municipalities could catch up to it.
Oh yeah, it grew.
Yeah, so you had people. Yeah, you had people walking around with like the streets were still made out of dirt because people walking down the streets with wheelbarrows with pigs in them and shit.
Well, yeah, that's how we wound up getting the fire, is because we had a relatively primitive infrastructure in that sense.
Yeah.
And what wound up happening is a lot of our wood stuff caught fire. Like, literally, the old wives' tale isn't really that far off from the truth.
Yeah, with Mrs. O'Leary's cow.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, something like that happened when I was a teenager. Where it is now, it's abandoned. It's a supermarket, though. It was a Wall-Bombs. But when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, it wasn't a Wall-Bombs. What it was the last, to my knowledge, shanty town that we had on Long Island. It was the last shanty town in New York, as far as I knew. And what it was all houses that were made out of wood and tin that didn't have foundations like normal foundations. These were poor man's foundations. You'd make the foundation out of a bunch of cinder blocks with the rebar in the middle, and you pour the slurry in between. So, and it was basically the houses. If you hit into the house hard enough, you could knock the house over. And I'll never forget this lot. It was full of all these old shanty houses. And I remember a couple of the guys, they went over there and they were trying to, they rolled up a wooler. And for the people who are listening that don't know what a wooler is you take marijuana and angel dust and you put it inside of a cigar, and usually they'll bless it. They put a line of cocaine down the middle. That's a wooler. So, they went and they rolled this thing up, and they went and they were blazing it up in the lot. And one of these assholes accidentally ashed into a pile of kerosene rags.
Ooh.
And next thing you know, I'm by my house, and I smell it first, and then look up, and I see, because it was steel gray skies, but I see the orange glow, and I'm like, it's noon. Why the fuck is the sun setting? And what the orange glow was because then I seen these 6 morons come running up to the house, and what it was, they had burned down the shantytown. The whole thing went up.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, I can imagine with the Chicago fire how fast that fucking thing must have went up.
Oh, that thing went fucking quick. It burned for a long time though. Like, oh boy. We almost lost the entire city. And that's one of the reasons why we went from having a 5-pointed star to a 6-pointed star, was because it was a combination of not only our accomplishments for the city, like for deep water ports and population growth and shit, but surviving that fire. And the fire was one of them, and diverting the actual river was another. Because back in the Dark Ages, what we wound up doing, well, not the actual Dark Ages, but, you know, before the fire, one of the projects we wound up doing was, because of I believe if I remember correctly, it was erosion was the problem. It was erosion, and people were worried that the literal force of the river was going to wind up gradually swallowing up the city over time. So what they wound up doing is they put a lot of people into manual labor. You know, some of it was voluntary, some of it was paid. You know, because it was like, oh, you know, the Chicago apocalypse. If we can't move the motion of this river, we're all going to die.
Some of it was prisoners. They didn't care if they drowned.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, man. You fucking kidding me? Dude, Chicago, we don't give a fuck. You put a guy on death row, just fucking work him to death, man. You know, a lot of people didn't know how to swim back then, especially with how the current was and shit in the river. Yeah, if you drowned, bye-bye. I ain't tossing you a rope. You ain't worth the fucking rope.
From what I understand about the Chicago fire, because this is from people who I read about this and I said to myself, man, how bad was your life that you actually were able to witness the South burning during the war and lived, and then were, for whatever reason, were able to see the Chicago fire? But yeah. Somebody who was, I guess, an older person who was witness to both said that the Chicago fire was much, much worse than when the South burned under Sherman.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because it was so much faster and so much more intense. But from what I understand, they said that we have not seen the worst blaze ever. And they said that it was like the Chicago fire was on the same level. That in modern history was when Tokyo burned down in the 40s, when we bombed it. Because I don't know if you guys know, our pilots, when they were flying over, they had to get those planes to maximum altitude so they didn't like get cooked to death inside the fuselage. They got them back and like shit was melted and burnt on the bottom of those planes because of how intense the heat was.
Yeah, oh
hell yeah, man. That's a bomb.
Yeah. And they had to actually they had to shutter the plane, like they had to shutter the windows because it was so bright that it was actually like hurting their eyes, because they said it was like flying into the sunlight, like sunrise. Fucking crazy. I couldn't imagine heat of that magnitude.
Well, they're burning an entire city with thousands and thousands and thousands of bombs full of napalm.
Yeah.
And it's all made of bamboo and paper.
I was going to say in rattan. Yeah. Oh, my God. And you know what the sad thing is?
It's just a powder keg.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The other thing is, like, the bamboo and the rattan, they finished it. That was like, I think it was a plum berry-based lacquer, which it's like highly flammable. The lacquer that they used too, which, oh man, like
didn't help them any.
No, it didn't help them at all. You know, it's one of those things. I mean,
adding gas to the fire.
Yeah, that's one of those instances where you really say, "Wow," you feel bad for the people that their government brought that on them. Like seriously, like. No, I don't feel bad that we did that to them, because we wouldn't have been bombing the fuck out of them if they would have behaved themselves, you know. But you got to feel bad for them. Like, you see these people running down the streets, and like, just it's not even like the flames are on them. It's just the flames are so intense in the street as they're running down the streets. You see, they stop running because they're cooked. They literally get cooked to death in the streets.
Yep.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's the sad thing about a lot of traditional structures for Asia, is all of that bamboo and that paper and such that they use, like your classical anime style sliding door. Yeah, that's mega fucking flammable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why in more modern times, a lot of people were considered being given the death penalty if their businesses were to catch fire, because it was like, okay, we made this architectural stuff to this special, you know, they're made out of this different paper and this and this and this, and then it's like, oh yeah, let me go smoke. Poof, there goes the house, you know. Yeah.
You know, the other thing of it is, a lot of people that I've talked to, like from overseas, always point this out to us. They're like, "Why do you Americans make your houses out of wood?" That's a really good question. Why the hell are we making our houses out of wood still?
My aunt's house and the house I live in, the house I live in is brick, and my aunt's house is center block. So yeah, it's not made out of fucking wood.
I guess for me, my excuse is where I live specifically, because original 13 colonies. All of our, like, I can actually go around my neighborhood. I was showing it to my wife once, and I showed her. I said, "You see this house?" I said, "You notice that this is the biggest house in the area?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "You see that house over there?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "This is what we're on is farmland." I said, "This used to be the farmhouse, and that used to be the barn." Because in my whole neighborhood, all of the houses look the same except for these two houses. And I explained it to her is this neighborhood was all the patch of farmland, and this is the farmhouse and the barn that the neighborhood was built around. And you get a lot of that sometimes around here. Like, all of the houses will be cookie cutter in the neighborhood except for two houses within a block or two of each other, and that was literally the farmhouse and the barn. Yeah, it's kind of wild like that. Like, you have to realize something. Where I live is the same place. If you ever seen that TV show Washington Spies?
No, I never have.
Turn. The TV show Turn.
Nope.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, that takes place out here. But east of me. And I tell people all the time, this is the same area that was farmland, 100, 200 years ago. It's not like the farms were completely erased. There's still traces of it where you can look. Like, when I take her out to her sister's in the morning to go to work, you can still see some of these houses. Like, the garages are actually horse barns. Like, they actually have like the hay. They actually still have the door up above the garage where you would put the hay in for the hay loft.
That's actually kind of neat.
It is. It's really cool. I don't know. I'm one of those people, like, I go around here like when they would show the black and white pictures from 100 years ago, I was curious as to see what's changed in 100 years. So I take the picture and go try to find the area where the picture was taken.
That's actually a really neat idea and a hobby.
Yeah. Well, you know what it was? Because when I was a kid, I'd hear all these old timers, because I'm the youngest of 7. So my father was, older than my friends' fathers, and he in turn had older friends. So, like, because he was a veteran of the Korean War, and he was a Navy man. So he used to go and hang around old sailors. And one of the sailors I used to talk to, this man, now you think about this, because I'm going to be 40, this man had served on the USS New York over 100 years ago now. Like, damn. Yeah. And I talked to him when I was a little boy. This guy served on the USS New York, I believe, in 1914.
Damn.
Yeah.
Trench war. Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, back in that era. And it's one of those things that I always thought was really cool was, you talk to people about how it was back then, and you can look at the old pictures and everything, and you can see how much it's changed, and sometimes you can see what was there if you look hard enough. It's just one of those things I found. It's one of the things I found cool about living here. Like, even now, I can still remember how things used to look when I was a kid. And I walk around and I'll show people, like, nah, that used to be here and this was here. Just it's one of the things. The landscape changes here constantly. And actually, just it's part of the thing. Is like trying to see how it evolves.
Ours hasn't changed that much. The only major big change we had was after the fire, because most of our construction back in the day was, God, most people nowadays would have a shit fit over how we built things back then, because we had a very classical manner of construction. Pretty much like, think of like a giant western town that was gradually becoming first world. And yeah, that was Chiraqistan for you back in the old days.
Oh, Mechanic, have you found me on 4chan yet?
No, but I'll look for it.
Thank you.
To give you an idea, Brooklyn isn't the same city I knew it was. And I'm not saying that like like philosophically, or I'm meaning like literally. They tore most of the city down and built a new city. Brooklyn never had skyscrapers before. Now it's full of skyscrapers. You can thank Jay-Z for that.
Joy.
Yeah, he bought a lot of the property in Brooklyn, and he with that Barclays Center he built for the Nets, and he has all those apartment buildings. And I mean, you go into Brooklyn, and it's horrible because you'll be driving, and then all of a sudden it's like fucking Dubai. All of a sudden you see like this miniature version of the Burj Khalifa, and you're like, what the fuck is this thing? And it's Jay-Z's eyesore.
Send me the link to 4chan, Tara, in Discord. Ugh.
It's it's one of those things. I'm all for urban renewal, but at the same time, it's just I don't know. I'm starting to get old, I guess. I miss what I had when I was a kid. I miss, obviously.
Dude, I feel you there, man.
Yeah. Obviously, the Twin Towers are gone. They've been gone for a minute, but, not even just the towers, just the rest of the shit. Like, why did they have to do that to Brooklyn? Looks like
simple.
Blade Runner.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm one of the few people who semi-drones the thought of the world being like Blade Runner. Because, I mean, if you think about it, that's Blade Runner, as high-tech as it is actually a very poor society. Where it's like, we're so devoid of having decent... Well, here's what I was thinking, like, as far as...
It said poll, meaning...
What was it, Tara?
Poll. P-O-L.
Thank you.
The politically incorrect board. But yeah, like the thing with Blade Runner is they're basically like, okay, we don't have any competent workers or the ability to pay thus said competent workers, so we're just going to augment/clone workers. Like that's the whole fucked up thing with Blade Runner. And then if Scoop, weren't you saying that there is a theory out there that like Alien and Predator are in the same universe as Blade Runner?
I'd heard that one myself. I hear all sorts of wild shit. I know Alien and Predator are both supposed to be in the same universe as DC.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. Specifically because whenever Dark Horse did a crossover with them, it was in that universe. And also in that same universe are supposed to be RoboCop and Terminator. Yeah. It took me a second. I had to think. They're all supposed to be within that same shared universe. Like
that's some bad shit too.
Well, from what I remember when I was younger, specifically the shared universes went like this. All of the Dark Horse shared universes, which was RoboCop, Terminator, Predator, and Aliens they all intermingle with DC. The other thing that I remember was when it came to other properties, they were always intermingled with Marvel. Conan the Barbarian, Godzilla. What else was always intermingled with Marvel? G.I. Joe, Transformers. Yeah. There was a few other things. Let me think. G.I. Joe, Transformers. Basically, they're all like in the same shared universe. Ninja Turtles was tethered to them for a while because they actually shared the same origin with Daredevil.
Nice.
Yeah.
There was a Doctor Who crossover with Star Trek comics.
Yeah. Star Trek has, I guess because DC had rights to their books for a while, Star Trek, I've seen it placed in the DC universe a few times. I don't know. I tend to like that's the thing. Like, I've seen the Twilight Zone placed in Marvel Comics and the Outer Limits, but on the same token, DC owns EC Horror, so I've also seen it placed in that universe. That's why it gets so confusing. It depends on who's writing, to be completely frank. At this point.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm pointing it out is, like, depending, you won't hear in a DC comic book, you won't hear them talking as far as normally. You won't hear them talking as far as fiction about aliens, Predators, Terminator, or RoboCop as being a fictional franchise, where you will hear that in Marvel. But conversely, like in DC, you would hear things about, like, let's say, you'd hear the things that, like Marvel, that are actually like supposed to be canon, like the shit that happens in the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits. That's just fiction in the DC universe. You know, it's like, in other words, each universe's reality is the other universe's fiction.
Oh, nice. So they got a nice paradox going, huh?
Right. It's actually, it was unintentional. It's just kind of how the cards fell. And it's just because of how over the years, like, the properties kept going to the same companies over and over and over. You know, like the Dracula books. For years, Marvel was doing Tomb of Dracula.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was like their shtick. So a lot of people tend to equate Marvel with Dracula.
Fun.
Yeah.
I remember the old Dracula. Cool shit. I come to tell you that you are fucked. I remember seeing a documentary on that. It was actually quite interesting. Guy wound up being such a great Dracula because he was good at studying sound. Like, literally, he didn't know any English whatsoever, so he memorized his lines phonetically.
Yeah, Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, and Lugosi just rolled with it. And, man, he did great.
That's like Topol, the actor who played Riptevia in Fiddler on the Roof.
Yep.
He didn't speak a word of English. He learned that role phonetically also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is amazing if you ever see the movie. You'd swear that the man spoke English. My question is, though, because I then saw him in Flash Gordon a few years later, I was wondering, did he learn English by that point, or did they teach him that one phonetically too?
I believe he learned enough English, because at first he didn't know English, but I do remember that the studio made it a point that it's like, okay, it would be easier if you would learn English. He's like, okay, I'll try.
Yeah. His English was very good by this. Yeah. By the time he did Flash Gordon, his English was very good.
Yeah, it took him a little while, because, I mean, the guy basically learned from scratch. He basically went between phonetically learning to later on, how I believe they wound up teaching him, is he basically went through a script and went, when you're saying these lines here, it means this. And he's like, oh, okay. And that's literally how it clicked. Like, he reverse engineered, or I believe when they were teaching him, they basically reverse engineered his scripts and started teaching him English that way.
You know, that's like Celine Dion when she was released. She didn't speak English when she was released her first few albums that were in English. That's probably part of the reason she butchered certain words when she would sing, because she didn't know what she was singing. She was literally doing it all phonetically. And
oh boy,
well, that's the reason I've heard her when she sings, like, certain words, she'll just like completely bend the word. And I was always like, why is she mispronouncing that word so badly? And then when I was watching a documentary, like, oh, she didn't speak a word of the language. She literally sang that whole song phonetically. That to me is impressive.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. I think, what's the name? Another one who did that was Shakira. Like, if you ever see her in an interview, she speaks like 8 languages. Which that's amazing to me. She speaks English, Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, and I forget what the hell the other 2 are. But she speaks like all these languages. They showed her in an interview. I'm like, holy shit.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, damn. It's 1 o'clock my time. Guys, I got to hop out. I got a couple of things I got to do in the morning. I'll be around during the day. Definitely hit me up when you guys are around.
All right.
Sure.
All right.
Good night, guys. I'll talk to you in the morning.
Talk to you in the morning.
Good night, man. We'll see you
later.
soon.
Yep, you got it. Later.
See you around. Such a pity. He had to go to bed. Oh well.
It is midnight my time.
I can still be up for a bit. I don't really have anything that important to do. We'll have to see what all goes on later on. Bela Lugosi. Great actor. It's such a pity because nowadays, man, I honestly think acting has gone straight down the shitter. Because, like, everyone's more about this socio-political retardation than doing genuine acting. So it's like, no, pander. Especially with China taking over the fucking entirety of Hollywood, man. I am not a big fan of that.
You found it yet?
I'm still looking.
Damn it. I was kind of hoping you'd already found it. Because I definitely like to see what, like, the whole 4chan thing is with us. Because that's going to wind up being, like, a badge of honor for our stream, is getting everybody to want it being posted on 4chan by people. Too funny.
I am looking for it. I've got it sorted by post. So I'm going through it. I'm currently at the 30-minute mark. Because I don't remember when it was posted. Was it like an hour ago?
11:42 is when they said that they saw it on Politically Incorrect.
Okay, so about 45 minutes.
I have a new subscriber. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah! Most excellent.
39, 40, 41.
We'll find it eventually.
44, 44, 45.
Yeah, those of you that found it on 4chan,
please send.
Yeah, please send it to us.
We must see
it really
the glory.
is a badge of honor for us. Burnside has already been featured on 4chan.
Hence the name Henrik Thortenson. Gotta love those dinguses. We found out who his name is. He's this Henrik guy. And I was like, yes, Henrik Thortenson. Yes, totally. I are Swedish. I loved running with that. Especially when some people actually thought it was legit. Like, I literally had to look through Swedish and go, alright, is there a way I can actually wing this? It's like, yes. If my Swedish is correct, it means that, Fjordsen was something to do with the mountains, if I remember correctly. So it's like, alright, Fjordsen, son! Aha, son of the mountains. That sounds totally legit. Good shit, man.
Yeah, even I'm looking, and I'm not finding it.
Damn, ain't that about a bitch?
It really is.
Ugh.
And I already...
That ain't it.
Do what?
Oh, no. I said, nope, that ain't it.
Damn.
I'm still looking.
I'm seeing very few YouTube links. That's why I'm having to look carefully.
Maybe they put up a picture, if anything.
I'm looking for that too.
Damn.
And guaranteed so is he.
No wonder. Nope. That one's archived.
That's a pity.
It really is.
Yeah.
I was going to post this all over fucking Facebook, everything.
I'm on fortune, y'all.
Yep, pretty much.
Such a pain in the ass.
It really is.
It's good to be 4chan famous because the memes. The great lamentation of the memes. No one can deny the great power of memetics. That's why we must know, where is our 4chan?
Shut up, Skeletor.
Hey man, you must tell me the greatness of our 4chan existence, for if you do, we can do great honor in the name of Meme Skull. I mean, Gray Skull. Great Castle Gray Skull. And it's memes. That shit ain't ever gonna get old.
Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and call it a night.
Oh, no 4chan.
Well, if people decide and they want to go searching for it, feel free to put it in the comments.
Definitely.
Please
we don't care
do,
how
'cause this
offensive it
driving
is.
me- Please do, because I can't fucking find it.
Yeah, and I don't know
Driving
how to like
nuts.
filter the 4chan, so. Ooh, maybe that's
Yeah.
a question for Irv.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
All right. So, anyone want to show?
Not really.
I really don't have anything immediately.
I got nothing.
All right. Go check out my bald eagle gets rescued from the Gulf of Mexico, and my strawberry picking at Rogers Farm. I'm getting ready to work on my horse retirement farm video, and then after that is my dolphin compilation video from SeaWorld. And just to piss Disney off, and I'm pretty sure I'll get a content strike, I am going to have the theme song to Flipper going on to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because nothing says dolphin like Flipper, Flipper.
Flipping Flipper.
And so, everyone, have a good night.
Good night.